It now gives me great pleasure and some relief, I'll be honest, to turn it over to Inez Jabalpurwala, the new Chief of PPF.
Thank you, Amanda, for your introduction. I am a huge fan of Amanda's, and I was over the moon when you agreed to serve as our MC and also as the host of our podcast, Wonk. You're the real deal, you do the work, and you show up. And I want to thank all of you for joining us for this inspirational evening to celebrate, to reconnect with friends, and to make new contacts. And I want to have a special call out to the members of the Public Policy Forum team who worked so hard to make this evening a success. Chantal Chanel and Kelly Sear, who has been with us for 25 years, and I think that deserves a round of applause. I also want to thank and recognize our dedicated board of directors, led by our chair, the wonderful André Beaulieu. Merci à vous tous de vous être rejoints à nous pour cette soirée inspirante. Une soirée qui nous permet de célébrer, de nous retrouver entre amis et de nouveaux contacts. J'aimerais remercier les membres de l'équipe de Forum des politiques publiques qui ont travaillé si fort pour assurer le succès de cet événement, ainsi que les membres dévoués de notre conseil d'administration sous la direction de notre président du conseil, le merveilleux André Beaulieu. Every successful professional journey is a combination of hard work, luck, and who you meet along the way. I was lucky that in 2001, I met two of Canada's greatest leaders, Alan R. Taylor and the late Michael H. Wilson. Both were previously honored by the Public Policy Forum, Alan in 1994 and Michael in 2005. And so tonight feels full circle for me. I worked closely with Alan and Michael for nearly 2 decades to build an organization that brought together a fragmented brain health ecosystem and made the case for supporting brain research the way we support cancer and cardiovascular research. Brain health is more than the absence of a disease or disorder and is central to our economic and social prosperity. And the brain does not exist in isolation. It's impacted by the rest of the human system and by the external environment. And so advancing brain health led me to lots of intersecting areas: big data and AI, climate change and pollution, differences in socioeconomic backgrounds and their link to health outcomes, and productivity in knowledge-based economies, just to name a few. In 2020, I joined Ken Irving on an exploration of the potential brain health impacts of COVID-19, and this led to patient-linked policy work on long COVID. When Michael was alive, I never got to tell him a secret that I'm going to share with you tonight, that I always aspired to be a policy wonk, but one who believes in Edison's timeless words, that vision without execution is hallucination. And so good policy is more than just ideas on a shelf in an office in Ottawa. It was Michael and Alan who inspired me to understand 3 things which connect to actionable policy. First, if you want to have lasting and meaningful impact, you need to work across party lines and recognize that people enter public service because they love their country and want to do the best for its citizens. Perhaps there are differences in the vision to get there, but in these increasingly polarized times, I hope it is recognized that sometimes those differences on the things that really matter are more exaggerated than the reality. Second, if you want policy to be implemented, you have to be a catalytic leader. You have to engage with and connect with people across sectors and provinces, and with all communities, urban, rural, and northern, because that's where the rubber meets the road. Great ideas fall apart on execution because that work to build trust wasn't done. And third, if you want to serve people, you need to take a dragonfly eye approach of seeing with breadth and depth, to listen and understand different perspectives, even and especially when they don't agree with your own. Although Michael was a numbers man, he always understood that data is necessary, but it's not sufficient. People are moved by stories. His own family's story moved many people to bring mental health out of the shadows. You always have something to learn from others, but more important, as soon as you lose sight of who you're serving by talking around and about them, you will never be able to do right by them. Now, just over 3 months into my role as President and CEO of the Public Policy Forum, or PPF, I find myself reflecting with gratitude on how I got here and the wisdom that was so generously shared with me. I'm impatient to put all of this into practice. I've had good conversations with many of PPF's valued members, partners, and supporters. I'm listening, and I'm looking forward to working with you because collaboration is a guiding principle for me and for PPF. Now, let's just say that we're living in interesting times of polycrises, wars, numerous civil conflicts, elections in 72 countries in 2004, including, you may have heard, the United States, involving almost half the world's population. And this has profoundly impacted the political, social, and economic landscape of our world. Single-path, short-term solutions are no longer sufficient. Canadians are energized by a moment of coming together, but also a moment of anxiety about what's ahead. A time, to borrow Canadianism, to double-double on our strengths and our assets. A time to focus on getting things done and getting things built. But we have to balance the here and now with the long view, because change rarely happens as fast as we'd like, and most often happens over one or more election cycles. We're also living in a time of shrinking civic spaces and an erosion in the belief in evidence as the basis to drive policy, practice, and to influence decisions and behaviors. AI tools are being used to generate and spread misinformation and disinformation. And programming biases embedded into the development of these tools and the available data driving them may compound existing socioeconomic, racial, and gender inequalities. As the media landscape changes and we're overwhelmed by information and opinions in a marketplace of ideas, objectivity and the truth have become more difficult to discern. What has been called information pollution, where we have to wade through a lot of bad to get to the good parts. It's even more important to make PPF's work accessible to a broader audience. One early way that we walk the talk on actionable policy is by launching a nonpartisan grant program to support journalists based at small and medium-sized media outlets in order to enable varied perspectives and more fulsome coverage of the 2025 federal election. Covering Canada was launched just 1 week after the election was called in partnership with the Rideau Hall Foundation and Michener Awards, with funding provided by a range of donors. We've raised and dispersed more than $500,000 to this program, with additional funds to produce a post-election report on journalism in a campaign context. This is part of our broader work on journalism and democracy. This country gave my parents every opportunity to build a life, and they in turn gave me every opportunity to thrive. That's what I want for every Canadian, whether Indigenous to our land, many generations here, or recently arrived, and good policy is a critical part of that. It's also part of looking outward, and as my friend Robert Greenhill would say, to where Canada can be consequential on the global stage. Over the next months, the board and team at PPF will be undertaking a priority-setting exercise to determine our areas of focus and where we can bring unique value as a convener and thought and action leader. Our work will be informed by extensive consultation with a view to finding ways to collaborate with other think tanks and across sectors. And so my call to action to my team and to you is, let's set bigger tables, let's tell better narratives, and let's have broader impact, bigger, better, and broader. Tonight we celebrate some great Canadians who have done all of these and have shaped policies informed by their diverse perspectives, have told compelling stories of a future vision, and have changed paradigms to serve Canadians. Amanda will be providing more fulsome tributes, but let me recognize now Elizabeth Dowdswell, Anil Arora, Marc-André Blanchard, Chief Crystal Smith, and Steve Pakin.